continuing marriage of panache, performance, and price allows us to overlook minor design flaws and once again bestow the Dell XPS 13 with our Best in Class award. For the third year in a row, the Dell XPS 13 is still our absolute favorite laptop. Seeing as it still looks the same as it did in years prior, you may be wondering what's different about the 2017 version of the Dell XPS 13, the company's flagship Ultrabook that we've still yet to fall out of love with all these years later. Above all else, this update focuses on boosting specs. So while you'll notice marginal changes made to the outside of the device, the inside now consists of Intel's 8th generation Kaby Lake Refresh series processors, if you can afford them, for double the cores of the previous generation Dell XPS 13. Of course, in directing its attention almost exclusively to performance enhancements this time around, the 2017 Dell XPS 13 still encounters some of the same issues we've been experiencing for quite some time now, particularly those related to webcam placement. As we anticipated, the cost of the Dell XPS 13 hasn't changed. The starting configuration retails at $799 in the US, and it doesn't appear to be any different than last year. You're still getting a 7th generation Intel Core i3-7100U, 4GB of RAM and a 128GB solid-state drive, SSD, and a Full HD Infinity Edge screen. The only models whose specs have changed are those that are higher tier. Because Intel's 8th generation processors for laptops only exist in a luxuriously high-speed vacuum, you can max out your Dell XPS 13 with an Intel Core i7-8550U, 16GB of RAM and 256GB of SSD storage for $1,749. The configuration we've tested here costs $1,299, £1,268.99 or $2.99. Pricier configurations include Windows Hello through a fingerprint sensor. In the UK, however, prices begin at £1,118.99 with a whopping 11 different configurations, starting with a 7th generation Core i7 processor behind an FHD display as well as 8GB of RAM and a 256GB SSD. The top end sees the XPS 13 with a QHD and touchscreen backed by an 8th generation Intel Core i7 processor as well as 16GB of RAM and a 1TB SSD for a cool £1,818.98. In the UK, you can also get several configurations preloaded with Ubuntu Linux instead of Windows 10. Finally, the Australian model starts at $799 for a 7th generation Intel Core i5 processor behind an